Hey, everybody. I want to talk about one thing specifically that I've been playing around with quite a bit. and of course, you see the Nomad sitting here, but I'm working on something else for that as far as walking through a new side loading tutorial. And that's coming soon because of the fact that Vlad Campos had a really good video showing a new way to side load that doesn't require using Android development tools. And my spin on that is that you only really have to do even that process, which is a real quick APK install from your computer, drop and drag of 2 files. And once you do that, then you get an App Store like experience. So we'll be talking about that as we go. But what I really want to talk about in this specific video is the TCL NXTPAPER 60 Ultra. And I'm going to have a review out on this pretty soon as well. This has been an amazing phone for me. I just wish, of course, the 60 isn't available on all carriers here in the States. And so I had to buy a plan to be able to have and use it as a phone for a little while. And so still not happy I had to do that, but considering they were kind enough to send me this device, it wasn't a big ordeal either. I won't be keeping the device. I will be passing it along because of the fact that I can't use it as a phone. And really, this thing just begs to be used as a phone. It is really, really good, and it really works well. I've come to enjoy it quite a bit. And just to talk about a couple of things on it, so right now I'm in what they call the max ink mode, and you can see that here. And you get very limited apps here. Now, to be fair, this is not an e-ink experience. This is a paper-like, they call it. And if you've seen the new TCL Note A1, the Graphics Tech and Vlad Kostek have done some reviews on early unboxings. That is the type of screen that you're getting on this device and the type of approach to what they're calling advanced e-paper, and that's that next paper part. So it's really an interesting device. I like it because of the fact that it is distraction free if you go into that max ink mode. And also, it's got a sensor that works extremely well in low light conditions. I actually found, and this will come out in the full review as well, that I enjoyed reading my Kindle on this more. And of course, I had a comic book open, which in black and white is a little bit different, but let me go ahead out of here. But I had this set up to read at night, and I was using this and the Palma. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed reading at night in bed on this, even though it's an LCD screen, but I enjoyed reading on this in bed more than I did the Palma. And partially it's because of the way the LCD is with this, what they're calling a paper-like or that next paper coating over the top of it. And the fact that that light sensor is so good on this device that it really matched what I needed to be able to read at bed and not disturb my wife. And just the crispness of it, the ease of swiping on it, all of that was really good because this is an LCD screen. All right. So reason that I like it so much is because you can look at the text there. It is very crisp, very clear. Of course, it's justified right now, but I could change that up a little bit for sizing. And it just moves really, really fast. And what I will tell you is the camera may not be doing this justice, but it's exceptionally clear and vibrant, and it doesn't feel like I'm reading it on my computer screen or on my regular Samsung phone screen. And I think that's the trick. What they've managed to do here is to take not e-ink, they've managed to take LCD technology or OLED type technology and make it feel less like a computer screen. So am I going to say it's e-ink? No, but I don't see the Kaleido screen that I see on the Palma 2 Pro. I don't have to fiddle with the lighting on it because there is an auto brightness feature on the Palma 2 Pro, but it doesn't do as good a job in complete darkness of giving you just the right balance. Whereas this device actually gives you just the right balance to be able to read it without becoming so bright that it's going to disturb your partner or someone else who may be in the room. If this device was available on all US carriers right now, I wouldn't get rid of it. I would keep it. I would stick my Xfinity SIM card in it and I would use it and I would replace my Galaxy with it. Not because it sleeps and bounds better than my S25 on every metric, because it's not, but because it's good enough. It has nice cameras with it, not a full flagship, but nice cameras. And I'll put some descriptions or I'll put some details and tech specs when I do the full review. But it's got that ink mode, which gives you a lot of battery life when you put it on there because it gives you only so many apps. It's got the 3 different modes that you can use. It has a note-taking mode. So if you go into notes and you do want to take a quick note, the stylus is very nicely hidden here. Reminds me of the S Pen. And then when you go into your notes, you can disable handwriting. You can do a lot of different things. And you'll notice I did some different just doodles, and it's kind of an infinite scroll here. And I go to my pen input, and then I can disable touch completely, which allows me to then, the only time it'll let me touch, like I can't write, it just goes into scroll mode, and it just works really well. So like I said, it's something that I've been using a lot. It's not e-ink, so if you're used to an e-ink screen, this isn't going to feel like that, but it does feel good. I mean, when I write on this, excuse me, I've got several things in my way here, but when I write with this, I hit the button. That's the only thing for me. I'm not a big fan of buttons, of the pen buttons, which just pulled up. I am not a fan of those. So it put me into a text mode. So let me get back to my writing mode, disable that, go into my pen. And like I said, once you're used to it, which it's been a few days since I picked it up and really started to write with it. So now here you can minimize this, and that was part of my issue. And I've disabled touch. So when I put it down and I'm writing at an extreme angle, this is not going to feel like e-ink, but what it is going to feel much different than writing on an iPad. Or if you ever had a Samsung Fold or the Note series, those were totally different to write on. Very much glassy, very glossy. This gives you good resistance. The pen could be a little more substantial, and I don't like the button. I wish there was a way to disable it, and maybe I'll find that. If I could, that's what I would do. I'd rather go to a menu in this case because you saw me a minute ago. I hit the pen and it just messed a bunch of things up, and that's user error. So that's nothing to do with the technology itself. There's a Kickstarter out on the A1 right now, and it looks like an interesting tablet. I actually backed it and then backed out, not because I think it's a bad tablet or because I'm just not sure yet. So I kind of got really excited because I had used this and then decided, well, maybe I'll back this thing and I'll go ahead and get that tablet and give it its, put it through its paces and see what's going on. Maybe TCL will send me one. I don't know if they will or not. And if they do, I'll make sure to review that. But this to me is a nice sweet spot. So let me go ahead and let me move this over so I can show you this on this main camera. So this is the device that I'm talking about right now, which is the NXTPAPER 60 Ultra. And what I had mentioned earlier was that if this was available on all US carriers, I would have this as my daily phone. And I'm going to do a full review and get that out here fairly soon because since it's not available on my carrier, I'm actually going to send this on to somebody who can use it and drive it as a daily phone. And I just think that's the best use of it. And I got I didn't need to get permission because there was no agreement formally between me and TCL, but I asked them if they thought it would be a good idea for me to be able to pass this along to somebody who may be able to review it and give it a full on, formal review. I've gotten a phone plan, I've been using it, but there's a difference between using this as a phone on a plan that you bought just for that purpose and daily driving it. And what I don't want to do is have that be the issue. I don't want people to say, oh, well, you didn't use it on your primary phone number. You didn't use it on your primary account and, for Android Auto and everything else. And I agree with that. And I think that that's why the fact that this is going to go to someone else who can do all of those things is going to be really important. But I do love the fact that it has the 2 different modes. And so when this moves over here, you get that animation and then you get that look and feel of a traditional phone. And it works very, very well. And when I do that full review, you'll kind of hear me talk about it. You still get your notes. So the notes we were just in, and of course now you have color that you can have. It's a little harder to show. I had some really good lighting to be able to do it at that angle with the phone. But definitely, it's not going to be an e-ink replacement. Now, what it might be, again, does it feel like e-ink? No. Does it feel way better than an iPad or something like a Samsung Note? Yes. So if you're looking for something in the middle and something to jot down on, and also something, like I mentioned, that can be turned with a click of a button into that distraction free. So if I go here and I click that button again, put this right up close to the screen here, and I tell it that I want to go into max ink mode and then say switch and then say yes, you're going to see that it's now going to switch over. And it takes me into that kind of minimalist distraction. I don't want to call it completely distraction free because you can still let things through, but at a touch of a button. I don't have to reconfigure something every time. I don't have to go through and allow, but one time, all of the apps that I want to change out. And to me, that's a very nice middle ground between an e-ink device and your traditional smartphone. And then the fact that it still has all of the smartphone capabilities if I want it. Is it gonna be as nice during the daylight hours as reading on something like the BOOX Palma? No. The BOOX Palma is still much better in well-lit conditions just because you don't notice as much that Kaleido panel. When I was reading at night, it was distracting when I'm laying in bed and I'm trying to read on the Palma. You can see, because of the light dispersion, the grid. So you can see that Kaleido grid since it's a color device. Now, in the traditional Palma, you might not have that same issue. And I could really understand where people who are using the black and white Palma would be like, okay, I don't have that issue, Ed. Well, I agree. And you probably wouldn't. But I have the Palma 2 Pro. And so for me, this was a really useful test case because what I found myself doing when I was reading at night to go to bed was using this device over the Palma 2 Pro because this one did such a better job of matching to how much light I felt I needed to be able to clearly see the text without it being overly distracting, if that makes sense. I mentioned that Vlad Campos had a really interesting new way of sideloading apps that he found on the Supernote. And basically, what it's going to allow you to do is instead of having to download the Android developer pack and then have that involved process to put what I consider the only 2 apps you need on a Supernote, which are F-Droid and the Aurora Store, that's going to be a drop and drag to get those 2 on. And once you do, you'll be able to then use those like your app store. So it'll be like the Google Play Store. It'll auto update from there. You can install new apps from there. All of that should work the same way it does now. The only difference is getting those first 2 apps on is going to be so much easier. And so people will be able to sideload their Supernote much easier than they were able to do before. Now, that being said, you could just drop and drag and put all your own APK files on there and just bypass the store altogether, which you might want to do. The problem is, I don't know if they would still auto update. That's the nice thing about F-Droid and the Aurora store is they allow you that auto update just like Google Play does. It says it's only 850 nits of brightness on the screen. I I've used it in sunlight and I don't think it's bad at all. I don't think it's going to be um, a huge disadvantage unless you are outside always in bright sunlight. This may not be the device for you. And like I said, when I do the full review, I'll make sure I put all the tech specs in there because I don't want to say this is for everybody. But what I will say is that I didn't have those issues, but I don't work outside all the time constantly. So I work in fairly light conditions and it cuts down tremendously on reflection. It distributes and works really well to kind of mitigate that. So if I turn this off, go ahead and turn it off, you'll notice how it diffuses the light. Get a little bit closer here. So that's almost directly on my bright light, and it diffuses that really well. But to your point, and I think really importantly, if you're outside and you've got the sun beaming directly down on it, that's why you need those really high levels of nits, is because of the idea that you have to overcome or balance the sunlight. This device, I don't think, is trying to do that as much. So it may not be good for the person who's going to be outdoors all the time. That being said, for someone who's outdoors going to work or coming home or just sitting out and they're not in direct sunlight, but they're in, kind of not a shady spot, but you don't have it directly beaming down on you all of the time. This could be a really good device. And it's especially good to be that quick note taker because it is EMR technology. It's not Wacom, but it is EMR technology. It has that NXTPAPER screen film on it, which doesn't feel like e-ink in any way, shape, or form, but doesn't feel like writing on glass. And it has a stylus packed into it. And to me, that makes it a pretty versatile device. And the colors are vibrant. It looks good. Is it the same quality as my Samsung phone? No, but it's not trying to be that. It also doesn't cost near as much. I mean, all in, and of course, this model isn't available. They are sending me the US model, hopefully later, and that's going to be a different one. It's going to be a 70 Pro, and that was announced at CES. It is going to be one of those, it may have a different spec package, but again, it's going to be in that $499 to $550 range, I think, all in on how much this phone costs, maybe even as low as $400. I don't know. They haven't given me any final prices, but I know this one here was under $500. So again, it depends what you want to pay. It depends what your use case is, and it depends whether or not you need something that gets extremely bright or if you need something that is readable and still works for you. But again, I'll cover that in the final review before I send it off to its new home. But it's a nice device. I like it a lot. And hopefully they continue moving forward with it. I would at some point like to get the NXTPAPER A1 in my hands just to test it. The reviews I've seen so far have given some good information, and Vlad had a good one. And like I said, GraphX Tech had one. And I'm only about halfway through GraphX Text, so I haven't seen that full review yet. And it was just an unboxing and first impressions. They both were. But I'm hopeful, not because I think e-ink should go away, because I don't. I think it should be around for a long time, hopefully, for those of us who really enjoy it, but because I think that alternatives are always good. And I think one thing e-ink has done is help push manufacturers who make these phones and people who are making screens to start thinking about eye health and start thinking about what that does to your body over time in looking at these screens all the time. And so if you can even move the needle 20% of the way, that's progress. And for me, that's important. It is a cool device. It's a great value. Again, unfortunately, this one you would have to buy and import. The 70 Pro will be available in the US. I'm being told sometime within the first or early second quarter. I am planning to get a pre-release of the European version of that just to be able to do an unboxing, and then hopefully get the US version to see if I can daily drive it. Now, it is a little bit different than this 60 Ultra. So again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and keep on moving forward, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you for watching. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to see more videos like this.